Things are changing fast and we're making history every day. The church should be no different. Stick around and find out how followers of Christ in the local church should too. Welcome to our first 5-minute Bible study here at Marion Baptist Church. I'm Brother Aaron. We're excited you're with us. For the next few weeks, we're going to be providing a 5-minute Bible study 5 days a week that goes along with our F260 New Testament plan that we're reading as a church together. We want to stay connected, and we feel like this is one of the best ways that we can do that. So join us as we read along in the New Testament day to day. And today we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and we're going to focus on verses 19 through 23. It says, "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though not being myself under the law, that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law I became as one outside the law, not being outside the law of God, but under the law of Christ, that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings." You know, this jumped off the page for me today. Paul is explaining his heart for people and his willingness to do everything he can to reach as many people for the sake of the gospel. But he also understood that in every new city or place that he found himself in, there was a different class. There was a different culture. There was even different belief systems. In order for him to be as effective as possible, he had to be adaptable. We as the church can learn a lot from this. You know, right now we're not able to be together in person to worship because of the virus that's going around. We've left a culture of physical togetherness and entered into a new culture of physical separation. We would be ignorant to ignore that we've left one culture and moved into a different one. And we as individuals and we as churches need to recognize that shift, and we need to adapt appropriately to share the gospel in the best ways we can with what we have and the abilities that God's given us. If we don't adapt, we will not be an effective witness or reach our potential as a person or as the local church. You know, we'd also be wrong to ignore what he says in verse 21. There he reminds us that he is not compromising his doctrine or his beliefs in order to bring people to Jesus, and we shouldn't either. He also didn't say that adapting to different audiences was easy, because it probably wasn't. You know, we're called to be different than those who don't believe in Jesus because of the transformation that has occurred in us through Christ. This transformation should drive us to challenge ourselves to be the most effective advocates for Christ and adapting as churches to reach the communities we serve without compromising our beliefs. In fact, he says in verse 23, that he does everything for the sake of the gospel, that I might share with them in its blessing. You know, wouldn't it be amazing, church, if we could celebrate the blessings of Christ with hundreds of new believers? Because during this time, we as believers, we as the local church, rose up and recognized the shift in our culture, the shift in our society, the shift in our physical distances, and we adapted but didn't compromise what we believe and shared the gospel in amazing, creative, innovative ways that led more people to Christ than ever. Wouldn't it be great if the church learned how to be more effective at making disciples because it was forced to adapt? So we want to hear from you. We want you to comment below. We want you to like. We want you to tell us a couple of things. First, how have you had to adapt during this period of social isolation and social distancing? What have you learned from having to adapt during this time? Maybe you went from being a working mother to a stay-at-home homeschooling mother. Maybe you went from being the same as a father. Maybe you have had lots of things change because of the mandates and regulations that we're under right now. But also, we want your help in helping us name this Bible study. What should we call it? We want your help in naming this new 5-minute Bible study so that we can reach as many people as possible. Remember